and picking up this week's video about to look inside this old cupboard behind me. If you missed the first part of this tiny home episode, I'll pop the link up here and it'll also be in the description box below. Without further ado, let's get into some messy cupboards. We're Mel and Paul, and this is our home. We're slowly fixing her up and doing our best to have a good time doing it. This is our version of boat life. Subscribe and welcome aboard. Tell you the reason for keeping all these DVDs, and it is definitely all on me. It has not got anything to do with Paul. This is my hoarding obsession. I think it has something to do with the nostalgic crack of a good old box and taking out a disc. We actually don't even have a DVD player, so I usually put it into Paul's laptop. Brings back memories of the good old days, going to the old video store or something like that. I just can't seem to part with them. I know there is a solution, and it is definitely on my to-do list to get a folder with disc sleeves and put them all away, take them out their boxes, dump the boxes and put them in the file. It just seems so tragic. I don't know. I'm just attached to them. Everyone's got their one thing, don't they? It will, however, be lovely to have some more free space here because I'll show you what else we get up to on this boat. Underneath the old keyboard and inside that box is the remains of a very large wardrobe scaled down. I had some very nice things that I had to let go of, but not complaining. It's definitely refreshing to let go a lot of your clothing. I managed to sell a lot of it on Depop and am now doing the last bits on Vinted. It's been great, but it's taking a while to get rid of all of it. There was a lot of stuff, I'm sure you can imagine. This is what we call the hobby area. Hobby for now, but with plans to turn it into a full-time career. I used to be a designer and make clothes in South Africa, so I'm hoping to get back into that some way, somehow. And I had to sell 2 large industrial sewing machines, scale down to this little Singer heavy duty. And this is a Dremel. I use this, I make jewelry as well. And in here are all my projects, fabrics, all those sort of things. I have another one this size underneath the dinette. On top here, a random bin of sewing things. It's just not ideal. It's basically being hidden under a £7 IKEA table. I wish it was different, but such is the life in a small space. On a side note, I'll show you while I'm here another project that I'm working on. It is nothing to do with fashion, but I did make our curtains, I covered the cushions on our dinette and did some bungs for our portholes. So a friend of ours that was in the marina over the winter, he did his own fit out on a wide beam boat and he made himself 12-sided porthole window frames. Hi Mike, if you're watching. I hope you don't mind showing people your bungs for your boat. So I'm making him some 12-sided bungs. This white cotton is just the test phase. We're going to do it in real fabric for him. As well as adapt to boat life, my hobbies and skills now extend to boat furnishings. The one thing that's worked out really brilliantly with our choice of this boat and the layout as it is the L-shaped dinette. We did want an L-shaped dinette, but look, there are lots of things that you want before you buy a boat, that when you get a boat, you realize, I don't need that, or actually no, I want this. You don't always get it right, and the experience or your preference comes from actually living on the boat. But the one thing that will be staying is the L-shaped dinette, and that is because if you do need a workspace, or you are a crafter, or you make things, or you need to lay out fabrics or whatever, even just a dual workspace, it's long enough for 2 computers side by side. It's nice in the corner to eat at. It really, really, really works well. Where I might struggle with a more traditional, I don't know what name the other kind of diner is, I will Google and insert here, I wouldn't be able to walk down. So as I'm cutting out fabrics and stuff, having this space to sort of move along and work is really, really ideal. And as I've just said to you, that we love the L-shaped dinette and it is staying. It is not staying in the exact same place. We definitely plan to bring it forward and utilize this space better. So we don't just want to bring in a piece of furniture. We are going to be keeping the dinette. We love that we can have people over to stay. It obviously folds down into a bed. And we are going to be creating a breakfast bar, kitchen bar. Yeah, a kitchen bar, a breakfast bar, a little eating area, if you will. We really feel that moving the dinette forward will allow us to maintain the best of both worlds, keeping a bed for guests, which is important. We really hope to share our boat with people. Keep a workspace, eating space, proper table set up for whatever we need that for. That's so handy. So keep that unit all together, just shifting it forward to the front of the boat. And then by creating the breakfast bar, it'll be a nice space for Paul and I to share, to eat. And also in a home, I think people always congregate around the kitchen. Whereas in this boat right now, if I'm cooking, you kind of just have to sit at the dinette because standing here in this empty space makes no sense. So we're envisioning how we would like to entertain and live in the boat and have it function in the best way possible for us. So the breakfast bar would essentially be where I'm sitting now. It'll extend off from this kitchen counter, and this obviously will have all moved forward, and it'll just be a nice space for maybe 2 stools or something like that. An additional eating space, but also a social space. I can imagine Paul fishing with a friend on the back of the boat, and then me chatting to a friend inside and sharing a glass of wine while we cook or something like that. You know, you've got to maintain the big dream. All I'm going to say is don't be expecting that reno to start anytime soon. We've got a lot of saving to do before we overhaul the kitchen and living area, but definitely on the cards. And like I said, you've got to see the dream. And from the time we bought this boat, that's what we saw, and we'll get there. So even though we've got some random bits lying around, it's not a tragedy. We're really fine with it. We just thought you'd like to see a little bit of the nitty-gritty. We know folks can be nosy. And mainly I know that folks can be nosy because I'm nosy. I love to see the inside of people's lives. Morning! In exciting news, Paul managed to refit our TV aerial yesterday, and that just means that the connection that was on the roof that we were getting some leaks through is now fully sealed and fixed up to original condition, which is fantastic. I mentioned in another video that we had bought the TV aerial, and that's what happens when you get things but then you have to wait on doing the job for rain or weather. The box hangs around, and in a small space it can get slightly frustrating. So wonderful to tick that job off the list and be rid of one more box on the floor. I am on my way to dump the aerial box. One less thing out of the way. This is one of those things that you realize when you have a small space. There's no point in hanging on to these things. You realize that it's not worth keeping boxes. We always used to keep a box. You never know if you need to sell something or if it's faulty and send it back. It's always best to just send it back in the original box. So whenever we used to buy things, and when we lived in a bungalow with the loft area, like the roof sort of storage space, we used to keep our boxes, and you have no idea how many boxes we had to throw away and how many trips we did to the tip before we moved onto the boat of empty boxes of things that we just never ended up using, never ended up sending back, but yet we hung on to. That is not a luxury that we have now in a small space. So as we get something, immediately the box is turfed.
Shaky entrance.
I'm on
all can tune in for next week. Another riveting episode on board Narrowboat. Maybe you might see someone riding the Gatling iron down the little back road. See how it goes. Tune in and find out.
Bye.
Hey, rock and roll.
I don't know why I feel so scared.
Come on then.
Of actually opening up. It's so packed in, yeah, I actually can't even get one out to show you. And not a very good use of space, but it's all we and then